outside the entrance to Creevelea Friary, just outside Dromahair in the county of Leitrim. We are looking at one of the openings of the cloister arcade. And under, if you like, the curved soffit of the arch of this opening, we have a carving of St. Francis showing the stigmata, the wounds of Christ, which is supposed to have happened to St. Francis during his life. At one stage, he showed evidence of stigmata. Of course, an indication to people in his day that he was a man of immense piety.
In the 14th, 15th and 16th century, the processes around land ownership in Britain were such that the Crown owned all the land, and the Crown then, at its discretion, granted land to its preferred subjects. And through the kind of feudal system, the undertakers who were given land let parcels of their land to tenants, and that's how the landscape became populated with smaller holders.
So we're looking at the panoply of a Gaelic chieftain at war here. At the back we have a couple of heater shields here, and we have a targe. Heater shields really go out of fashion around the year 1420, around that sort of time, first quarter of the 15th century in Europe in general. But we still see their use as markers of authority, power, in urban centres, castles, and even as devices in a funerary context. The arms you see here are the arms of the O'Rourke. Now, we don't know how old these arms are. We do know that I think it's in the late 16th century, around the year 1579, when the arms are awarded from the Ulster Chief of Arms at that time. But it's possible that this tradition goes back to as far maybe as the 14th century.
When Brian went across to England in 1617, there was correspondence about the very poor condition that he was in. Clanrickard appears to have been very mean and very lousy to Brian O'Rourke. Even though he had the wardship for Brian O'Rourke, he didn't seem to be taking good care of him. And when it came to paying the compensation eventually after the St. Patrick's Day fight, Clanrickard fought that tooth and nail. He didn't want to pay a penny. Even though Clanrickard could have accessed Brian's properties up here in Leitrim to make some kind of income on his behalf, but he didn't do that. He knew the lands were going to be planted. There wasn't a penny to be had out of Leitrim, so he wasn't going to invest anything in this ward. He was told nothing. He was in prison so that he wouldn't cause trouble in Ireland. Never charged, never tried.
And also, of course, this very fine traceried window. Like, that is get the impression that it's representing flower bulbs or something like that, which in itself might be a reference back to St. Francis's love of the natural world. The nave, of course, was where the ordinary people would have come to hear Mass celebrated by one of the Franciscans, but also to hear the Franciscans preaching, because that was one of the major roles of the Franciscans in the medieval world, and that is to preach the gospel to ordinary folk.